I've really enjoyed getting to know these three fabulous women that are part of this panel, Sumedha, Mala, and Roopashree. And as we go through the amazing technology areas that they work in and hear more from them, we'd also like to hear from you. If you could add into the Q&A and chat what brought you to this panel and anything you're really interested in, and we'll try and connect with that as we go through. So ladies, if you could, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about yourselves. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last 10 days. And, you know, I think it's really important to share some of your experience with everybody else who's here. Mala, I might ask you to go first. You're on mute.
Thank you, Shehara. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hope all of you are doing well. I'm Mala Bhat, a global leader in Dell digital organization, leading multiple product lines. Right now, my focus area is in enhancing the customer experience for the after point of sales. Like customers should be able to track their orders from end to end and also be able to check their warranty, renew, etc. So just to give a little more background about me, I've been in the industry for about 2 decades now and have a varied industry experience like research, product, and services. I've been with Dell for the past 10 years. And in the last, I would say, 2+ years have been an exciting journey here in Dell to really work on accelerating the digital transformation, which includes the application modernization as well as the product journey. Thanks for this opportunity. Looking forward to have a great discussion today. Roopashree, would you like to introduce?
Sure. Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I'm Roopashree from Texas Instruments, TI for short. TI, you may know, is a leading analog and embedded processor semiconductor company. I'm passionate about physics, electronics, and the power of teamwork. And I have been fortunate to have been able to combine all these passions in my job. I have worked across multiple VLSI functions. I've done digital libraries, high-speed IOs, high-speed memories, and also electronic design automation. Currently, I lead TI's Global Foundation IP and EDA teams, where I'm responsible for ensuring that TI's products have the most competitive IP and design tools and methodologies. I'm extremely excited to be here, to be part of such an engaging summit, and really eager to learn, as all of you are, about what the future holds. Share some things and learn from others too. Sumedha, over to you.
Thanks, Rupa. Hello, everyone. My pleasure to be here. Really exciting, especially the technology topic is close to our hearts. I currently manage the Xeon networking products at Intel. We make SoCs for the networking and the 5G business. I've had a long journey in the tech space, more than 27 years now, and it started with cell libraries and IPs and subsystems. And for the past 15 years, I've been managing SoC products. Actually, a big part of my journey was in TI. Rupa and I actually share a big part of our career journeys. We've been good friends and colleagues for a long time. And in 2014, I joined Intel, and I have been working on Xeon servers, and we actually have a product line that integrates Ethernet, right? So that's really servers for the networking space. And then we also do 5G ASICs. Technology is my passion. I'm ever curious, wanting to learn. And I have 2 daughters who are both engineers. My husband is an engineer, so we are a very tech kind of family. So love this space and happy to be here.
Wow, thank you, all three of you. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about what all three of you are doing, and especially as we think about reimagining technology, what do you see? You know, what are the 1 or 2 areas that you see really growing and becoming something that becomes part of our lives as we move forward? It'd be really great to hear from all three of you. Might kick off with you, Roopashree, around what you're seeing.
Sure. Yeah, so like I mentioned, that TI, we engineer, manufacture, test, and sell analog and embedded semiconductor chips. And these are the key ingredients in things that we use every day in electronics, embedded in things we use every day. Why I'm mentioning this is as we are providing chips that go into everything, I get a view of how our end customers use them to build systems that we use, and that's very exciting to me. As you would have known, the past 2 to 3 decades, we have seen a revolution in personal electronics and communication. We have smartphones, laptops, tablets, and ubiquitous internet. And the compute power in each thing that we hold in our hand today exceeds those that even put humans on into space. And the next decade, I see tremendous growth other than the personal electronic space in automotive, industrial, and immersive, that is virtual reality technologies. So let me elaborate a little bit on automotive and industrial. Everywhere, wherever we have mechanical and electromechanical systems, they are getting replaced by electronic systems. And that's a tremendous opportunity in the semiconductor field, because it goes into every kind of imaginable product. You would have heard of electronification of transport, right? And to me, it's as revolutionary as the automobile. So with electronification, we not only have electric motors and batteries, but cameras, vision sensors for driver assistance, driver safety, and ultimately automated driving with connected cars and car-to-car communication. Now, switching to another field, right, industry, we are at the threshold of what is called Industry 4.0, or the fourth industrial revolution. That is the digital transformation of how we manufacture everything, right from probably a doorknob to a space station, to things that go into space, right? Everything, how it's manufactured. And this comprises industrial robots, environmental and temperature monitors like temperature, pressure, proximity sensors, machine vision, machine-to-machine communication. Imagine 2 machines talking to each other, or more machines, 2 or more machines talking to each other and taking end-to-end decisions. Imagine self-running factories. I'm an avid science fiction reader, and I had read this in so many books of Asimov, Roy Bradbury, and it's so exciting that we are seeing all of this, and we are a part of all of this. We are contributing to this. I'm really thrilled to be a part of this exciting tech journey. And all of this needs extremely reliable and fast real-time compute and networking, which is something right up what Sumedha just introduced herself that she is working on. So Sumedha, go ahead and add to this.
Yeah, I mean, just taking that kind of story forward, right? I mean, I recall when I joined Intel, right, there's this mission that Intel has, that we want to build products and technology that improves the life of every human being on this planet. And it sounds very ambitious, it sounds, what? And then now that we see now that this pandemic has happened, how true that is, right? Today, our lives are completely gone digital. Everything that we do, right? Our work, our kids' studies, health, basic necessities, education, hobbies, socialization, social networking, everything is actually gone virtual, right? So today, the world has become digital, and it's becoming digital faster and faster every passing day. The Intel vision here is really combine or kind of unite these transformations that are happening in basically 4 pillars, or superpowers as they are called within Intel. And the 4 pillars are, the first is 5G and connectivity. And I'm sure all of you have heard a lot of buzz about 5G. What is fueling it is what Rupa talked about, right? Basically, the world is becoming digital. There is so much data that is being fed by all these end applications onto the network, and 5G is really making the network capable enough to handle large volumes of data, to really give a very high throughput, very fast latency for like real life kind of responses. And it's really putting the power of data in the hands of every human being on the planet, right? I mean, that is happening as we speak. So that's really the connectivity part. The second pillar is the intelligent edge. Now you have this whole explosion of data that is happening, and you just want to make sure that the way you are dealing with data is efficient. It's energy efficient. You call about spectral efficiency, network efficiency. So you want to actually deal with the data as close to the endpoint as possible, which means you need to have a lot of intelligence in the edge. A lot of decision making that can be done on the edge should happen on the edge as close to the consumer as possible. So that's the intelligent edge. Then of course there is this cloud revolution that has happened, and it's actually been happening a lot, right? And it's about virtualization. It's about like on-demand compute resources, storage resources, network resources. And cloud has been a huge transformation in just unleashing the creativity that we see, right? Today, any startup can basically rent a cloud, pay per use, and get started and really focus on their idea. They don't have to build the entire infrastructure anymore. It's available to them at very economical terms, right? So that's really the cloud transformation story. And then running through all this is artificial intelligence, right? So you have this whole buzz around machine learning, artificial intelligence. That's really driving intelligence into, computations, data computations, and decision making, right? So you have all this data, you really have to analyze it, do smart things with it, and give an intelligent response so that the data is actually of value, right? So that's artificial intelligence, which kind of runs like a workload throughout this whole end-to-end chain of things, right? From the endpoint to the edge to the cloud itself, right? So that's AI. So those are the 4 pillars that are really coming together to take us into digital transformation. A lot of it is about virtualization. It's about software, because obviously when you are actually running at the pace at which the new use cases are emerging, technology is changing, security is a big threat. You really want to have an infrastructure that is scalable, that stays up to date, which means you use kind of a generic, maybe x86 kind of a hardware, and you actually move all your functionality into software, and you are not building any, kind of purpose centric hardware anymore. So with that, right, the software is a big part of this revolution. I'll hand it over to Mala, who really deals with a big software and app transformation at Dell. Mala.
Thanks, Sumedha. I think you have covered edge and networking extremely well. Thank you. So most of you may already know that Dell is a leading infrastructure company, and also one of the largest e-commerce organization in the world. So when we see this, we have multiple areas where we can see the growth. As Sumedha and Roopashree covered, edge computing, cloud, networking, and the technologies around building these softwares. And last but not the least is the technologies around the data. Right? So I will talk a little bit about the data and the technologies that we are using in Dell around building the software or a product. So when we say data, uh, we call now, I think in the new era, we said data is a new oil, right? I think it is very, very true in e-commerce industry as well. So it is actually helping us to understand the user experience and user choices, so that any changes that we can make in the product, it is driven by the data. And even from a business perspective, based on these data, they can take a right decisions on what are the capabilities that we have to put it in the product. So having said that, I think the technologies around the data, whether it is data analysis or data processing, data storage, those are the area which we see the growth right away, and it is going to grow in the future as well. And second thing is the technologies around building the software, right? So with the current modern era, the business demand is so huge, and also the one of the critical thing that business expect is time to market. So when we see these as a need, the technologies that help us to build this kind of a product, which can actually scale and make sure that the availability is there, and also it is a high responsive. So some of the core technologies which help these demand are microservices, APIs, and also micro front end. Um, Apart from these core technologies, I think in the recent days, we have seen a lot of emphasis on the DevOps, which gives the ability to do the continuous integration and deployment, so that um, I think I would say 5 years back, if we want to develop a particular capabilities which businesses asked, it used to take a month to see the live. Today it is just one day. You make a change, you are there in the production, and customer is able to see that change. And it also helps us to see the feedback immediately and pivot it. Thank you, Shara.
Thank you, Mala. Thanks, all three of you. That was really, really interesting to see not just your areas, but how they all connect as well, and where we could be going. I just want to delve deeper a little bit. I mean, it's so rare to get 4 women in tech talking about tech on a panel together, that I don't want to miss out on this opportunity to delve deeper a little bit around your areas. Roopashree, it's always, I mean, you touched on a few use cases already in what you said. If you can just give us a couple more use cases, particularly what you've seen in the last couple of years, and what, where these technologies have really started making a difference.
Yeah, sure. I'll just give a couple of personal examples I've just illustrated. Recently, I was in a call with my cousin, and he got a call saying the battery of his electric car needs to be tuned. Can he please get it to the service center in the next 1 week? And he hadn't requested for the service. But we were both thrilled when he got the call. We know it meant that the battery monitoring system in the car is working really well. And we in TI work on that. He's in a software company who has written the code for that. So we were so thrilled. So he immediately, I was on the call, and he called the service technology center. And they said, yes, you need, the battery needs replacement. And they had got all this info from the health monitor, or the battery health monitor on the car. So what this actually means to us when we are designing is we need to have electronics, first of all, that operates at extremely high voltages of like 200 volts, very high temperatures of 150 centigrade. And it needs to be able to monitor the battery health accurately, and it needs to communicate. So we need to have chips that do power monitoring at high voltage plus communication, and that's so much fun. And then these are all preventive maintenance and self-diagnosis that applies across the board, right? It's not just in a car. It's so cool for us if our car tells us, hey, your tire is wearing out, going by how much you drive every day in the last 1 month, you need to get it replaced in the next 2 weeks. Or water pipes that can tell us, hey, I'm about to leak here, it needs to be fixed in the next 7 days. Or a bridge that can tell, hey, I'm designed to carry 10 tons per second. For the past 1 month, I'm carrying 20 tons per second. All of these are real life examples that we have seen from our customers that we design chips for, and that's really great. And another example on medical, especially we can relate to this in light of all the recent pandemic, the last 1 year. Medical equipment being completely non-invasive for and for home use, right? And I think of this being almost as revolutionary as the discovery of X-rays. With X-rays, you did not even have to cut open to figure out what was wrong with the bone, right? You could just see it. So similarly, pulse oximeter or blood glucose monitor, right? They all rely on non-invasive technology that is optical and infrared. Very safe to be used at home, very small form factors. So what this means as analog or embedded technologist is for us to have really small analog front ends, extremely sensitive front ends that can translate optical or IR data into electronic reading. And it has to be done in milliseconds. And it has to hold battery life for years and be very affordable. This is to me very exciting because we are changing, electronics is changing the way we live, work, and communicate, and more importantly, it's improving the quality of life. So these are some of the very personal use cases that I have come across. Very exciting.
Yeah, very. I like then Smala, because I mean that's all linked to also things like app modernization and how that goes about. So could you tell us a little bit more around what you were talking about in terms of app modernization and how that's transforming the use cases that Roopashree was talking about, as well as the cloud?
Sure. So, so when we say app modernization, right, at a very, very high level, we are talking about two use cases. One, you are actually building the greenfield product where you have the all the flexibility to choose the right technology, to see whether you can address the scalability, availability, and also high responsive of the applications or the product. From an infrastructure perspective, I would say that you have cloud technology, which we all have discussed, which provides the inbuilt ability to scale dynamically, and also making sure that the product is available 100% or 99.99% available with this required speed. In Dell, we have used some of our products are on VMware Tanzu, a cloud solution where we are seeing our application is always up, and almost all the products are on with 99.99% availability at this point. Second use case is about legacy applications getting modernized into the latest technology. I think that is the tricky part, because you have all these legacy applications are built as a monolithic applications, and we have to modernize this and deploy it on the latest infrastructure and the technology, which is a significant effort and also a risk, because this has to be solutioned in a way that there is no impact to the existing customer. It has to be very, very seamless. I would compare it almost like you have to replace an engine from a moving train, where without even giving a jerk. So, right. So in Dell, I got the opportunity where one of the critical core component related to managing the cart for Dell e-commerce application, we migrated this from legacy into the cloud infrastructure, which is taking about 300 million transactions per day. It's a huge, I would say, uptick. So, yeah, technology is definitely, I think, providing that flexibility for us to, accelerate, I would say.
Great. And all of this, I mean, Sumedha, you covered several technologies in what you said. One in particular that I'm really excited about is the edge computing, and especially when we heard particularly Roopashree's use cases. But how do you see that being scalable and viable as we move forward?
Right. So as we are talking, right, we are talking about this multitude of use cases that are emerging, right? So they range from just entertainment, right? People trying to pull more media, to autonomous driving, which requires real-time response. Then we have this whole industry 4.0 or factory 4.0, where the whole industry in factory is modernizing. Rupa touched upon that as well, right? So you have actually, there are three types of use cases that emerge, right? I mean, there's one that is just very media centric. You just want really, really high throughput. Then there's one where there's a lot of data that is getting generated, millions of bytes of data, and you really have to handle it smartly because you can't choke the network with it. And then you have this real-time applications, right? So your edge has to be very, very intelligent in order to give the right quality of service depending on the kind of workload that you're dealing with. And all this has to make commercial sense, right? So for example, if my cellular service provider, my CSP, wants to offer me some value-added services, right? Maybe they're offering, Netflix or something like that, right? They have to be able to do it in a commercially viable manner, which means that they'll put a lot of services out there. They won't know what the response is, and something might just take off, right? when something just takes off, I want to make sure that I can provision for it, right? So I want dynamic provisioning, which is what virtualization is about. I want to be able to add more hardware, and my software should be able to leverage this additional hardware infrastructure. Or for example, if it's a virtualized RAN kind of a base station where I have been able to move all my RAN radio access network to a virtual kind of infrastructure, then I can just scale it up and down depending on what kind of demand you are seeing at that point in time, right? So this whole scalability is a big part of why virtualization is happening and why there is a move to like a generic hardware and a very virtualized, kind of application specific software, if you will. And that's really already happened in the core network. If you look at the core network, almost 50% of it has already moved NFV. Shehara, you work at Cisco, you will be very familiar with this whole transformation that's happening on the core. And now it's shifting closer to the edge. We run, for example, you can call it like an edge application, right? So it's getting virtualized, and you don't even know what kind of things you're going to see on the edge, right? So you can see AI workloads, you can see media workloads. So in addition to the kind of a generic hardware, you can also add accelerators that tackle these different workloads that you start seeing on the edge. And because all our cellular service providers, right? For example, Jio in India is very, very advanced about it. Jio is partnering with Intel to modernize their base stations and adopt vRAN. And then they also want to deploy edge servers in their base stations, right? Because they want to provide all these value-added services. So this whole transformation on the edge is happening as we speak. There's a lot of anticipation, right? There's a lot of provisioning that's done on 5G. And then, of course, with the pandemic accelerating the kind of use cases we are seeing, you see an explosion of creativity in the space, really, really fueled by the intelligent edge.
Wow. Thank you for expanding on all three areas. Before I go to questions, I would like to ask you a little bit about how you're leading in this, with all these changes. I mean, technology is changing exponentially. How do you lead in this environment? I might ask Roopashree, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. In the previous panel, there was a discussion on empathy, and that's really, really important as we've gone through this last year. I want to touch about another one. It's also taught us the power of adaptability and flexibility. I think Sumedha can talk a little bit more about the adaptability part. I'll talk about flexibility, right? Earlier, work flexibility was mostly associated with women, right? You have a break in the career, you want a mat leave, or you are doing care leave. But the past year has really taught us the power of flexibility for everyone. So with flexibility, you're able to do a lot more. Just to paraphrase Spider-Man, right? With great flexibility also comes great responsibility. So here, the responsibility is of outcomes. So for me personally, I have specific and measurable outcomes for myself, me, my family, and also my team. So the power of flexibility combined with specific measurable outcomes is what I lean on, especially in these times. And also, if you look at it at a slightly macro level, right? Flexibility has also opened up the available workforce. No longer would a location be a serious limitation to employment. Where there is skill and performance, employment follows. And in India, this has really opened up employment possibilities in tier 2, tier 3 cities. And as a country, it really allows us to leverage our tremendous human capital for gainful employment. So that is, for me, has been something that's been over the last 15 months as we reach through this, right? Something that's been revelation, practiced, and reinforced.
Right. Mala, what are you seeing in terms of your leadership?
Yeah, I will talk about building the team and hiring the right talent, right? So in the current ever-changing technology, so when we look at the workforce, right, you have to hire people mostly aptitude rather than the technology or a specific skill set, a specific technology, because technology is rapidly changing, same way business needs are also rapidly changing. So I would say that when we hire, we look for aptitude and whether they have a customer centric mindset, and also about whether they are ready to learn and be adopted, right? And quickly learn and grow. That is mostly for, I would say, junior kind of resources. When it comes to leadership roles, we would definitely look for thought leaders and be able to really drive the strategic decisions, and who have a high EQ than an IQ, and who believes that diversity brings a lot of additional benefits to the table. And when I say diversity, it is not just about gender, it is about ethnicity, location, also about diverse thought. Be able to leverage that diverse thought and be able to lead that diverse team. So I think that is the major call out, I would say, when it comes to the building the new workforce.
And Sumedha?
Yeah, I'll just build on it a bit, right? I think Rupa and Mala covered quite a lot. What I would say is that the leadership expectation has really changed, right? So what this pandemic has done is that there is no wall between work and life anymore. That wall has collapsed, and you have to bring your whole self at work. And there's no way that a manager or a leader can now say that I'll only deal with the work persona, right? I don't have to do anything with the life of this person, right? I just care about. There's no such thing that exists anymore, right? We had cases in the pandemic where managers had to go and help people, right, with real life crisis in their families, and there was a bit of hesitation, right? Am I intruding, right? Can I really go and tell them what to do? And we just said we are saving lives, right? There's no boundary. We just go and do it, and it formed such an immense bond in the team. I mean, we did actually, coincidentally, we did our employee surveys. Our surveys are much better than they used to be last year, because I think people have really connected together. And today, as a people leader, you have to be empathetic, you have to be there, you have to be authentic, all of that. And there's absolutely no room for trying to cut boundaries and saying, I'll just deal with the work part. There's no such thing. So people's expectations from leaders have changed dramatically. Mala talked about EQ. Obviously, EQ is a big component of that. Being able to stay positive, resilience, right? I mean, all of us talk about it now. So all these qualities have come so much to the forefront. And we really have to build that expectation more formally about leadership.
Yeah, very true. And in fact, there's a follow-on question. So I'm going to take the questions that people have asked from the audience. And this one's to Roopashree. Can you please explain briefly the way you go to work at TI? As you said, you believe in teamwork. How can we form an effective team, and what are the important keys while forming a team?
Yeah, sure. So Sumedha told that we both were in the same team and we were colleagues and very good friends. And one of the most important things that I have learned is about a shared vision. We need to have a shared vision of what we want to accomplish as a team. And that has to be bigger than what each of us want. Only when we have a large shared vision, and the best times for me has been when we have tried to achieve really something that we thought was not achievable. I just remember when I came to the team and we were trying to do the first digital library out of India. It was so exciting, and because we were shooting for the moon, we said, hey, we can do this. This is absolutely something that I know it's difficult, we can do. So I think shared vision and punching above our weight, right? That is what brings a team much, much more together. And the other one, Sumedha already alluded to, right? And the best teams are those that connect at a personal level, not just from a work level. You need to be able to connect to everybody in the team at a personal level. only then will we be able to get more out of what we just would get our work selves to work. Right? We need to get our whole selves to work. Those two have been, to me, what makes teams work, not just work, what makes teams really great.
Awesome, yes. I think we've got time for at least one more question, and there are a couple on this, so, and I might just ask Sumedha to cover this one. It's around artificial intelligence. So there's a lot of talk on the future of technology around artificial intelligence. How is it going to change the way the world works? Is this prediction a hype or a possible near future scenario?
Well, it's not really a future scenario, it's already happening, right? So artificial intelligence is more part of our life than we can imagine. It's already there, it's all pervasive. And I mean, you see it, right? I mean, whenever you're using the internet, basically you actually see it, right? In terms of how the internet is actually using your behavior to kind of filter out and give you choices, right? So it's there everywhere. It has to be there because there is no way without artificial intelligence that you can process all the data that's getting generated, right? So for example, if you let's take a factory, right? Take an example of a factory where TI is very active in actually developing, all kind of the point processors that generate a lot of data. You have to do decision making, and the decision making has to really have an artificial intelligence component to it, because there's constant learning that has to happen to filter that data and take the right decisions, right? So AI is already there. It's all pervasive. It's actually become a horizontal technology that's going to impact everything, right? I mean, you talk about any field of work, right? Talk about medicine, or talk about even vague stuff like archaeology, right? Or art, right? I mean, anywhere AI is being used as a tool to make more intelligent decisions everywhere, and that's just going to be all pervasive. So I don't think it is hype. I think it's very real. In fact, right now what we are seeing is what is happening is surpassing our wildest imaginations. Things are moving faster than human imagination, right? That's really what we see.
Right. Unfortunately, we've come to an end. So I am going to ask all three panelists to give us a very quick piece of advice to leave us with. You painted us an amazing reimagined technological future, which I'm so excited to be part of. What's one piece of advice to all the leaders in the audience as we move forward? What should they really focus on as we move into this reimagined future? I might ask Mala to kick us off.
Sure. So I would say when you do a transform, start with people, and then process and technology, you can do it in parallel, because once people are aligned, the rest of the things will automatically flow, because they are the one who will drive your vision and the strategy. So I think it is very important as a leader to create that environment where team members have that flexibility to really explore and take a bit of a risk without any hesitation. Explore, fail fast, and learn. That's what I would say.
Rupa.
Okay. Many things, but one thing today, be like a sponge. Absorb as much as possible from each experience. This is something I personally learned. Previously, I used to classify experiences as good or bad, and I just realized that I was limiting my learning if I classify them as such. So now I say to myself, there are no 100% good or 100% bad experiences. They're all experiences. And it's up to me how much I learn and grow from each experience. So one message I would leave with is be like a sponge, absorb as much as possible from each experience.
Great. And Sumedha?
I would say stay adaptable, right? Famous Charles Darwin says it's the best, it's the species that adapts that really moves forward, right? And it's very true for us in this age and era. Anything that actually holds you back, it can be anger, arrogance, fear, ego, will really come and it will really stop your progress. So working on oneself all the time, really listening to what you're being told, like Rupa says, absorb what's happening around you, be very conscious of how the ecosystem is moving and move along with it, right? So adapt rapidly, learn, stay curious, stay open. That's really my mantra.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Roopashree, Mala, and Sumedha. It's been such a pleasure to share this panel with the three of you. Thank you to the Witi team for asking us to be here, and especially for the audience for staying with us and engaging with your questions and comments. As we all embrace technology, remember it's an opportunity really for all of us to reimagine not just the technology, but how we engage and grow with it. Thank you, everyone.